I've been doing a lot of thinking lately with everything that's been going on, and it seems like there's a lot of negativity and uncertainty in the world right now. And so I started thinking, what can I do to help? Like what can I do to make a difference? And I was thinking, I could become a doctor. I mean, that'd be easy enough. Get to help people, make pretty good money too. And you know what though? I just don't really think white is my color. So that's probably out. Let's see. Oh, I could become a scientist. You know, help people, maybe come up with a vaccine or a cure, or maybe a car that can go to the future. Either way, again, it'd be simple enough. You know what though? White lab coat again. So I guess that's probably out too. This might take a little bit more work than I was expecting. It's all right. It's all right. I got this. All right. You know what? I got it. I got it. I know what I can do. I'll do movie reviews for horror movies from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And I'm fairly confident that's probably going to help a lot more people than those first two. Yeah. I like helping people. Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Keith and this is VHS on Tape. Welcome to the very first video of my channel. Now, as I said in the intro, I'm going to be reviewing horror movies that were made in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Because I feel that's when the best horror movies came out. Back when real FX artists made some really awesome special effects. And they didn't really rely on CGI or fake blood. Now, not all of the movies I'm going to review will be the best, or even good, probably. I mean, some might even be terrible. Yeah, some are definitely going to be terrible. But, you know what? I'm going to do it anyways. Now, when trying to decide what movie to review first, I didn't even have to think about it. Troll, hands down. But then I did think about it, and I decided on John Carpenter's Halloween instead. Now, the reason I chose this movie is pretty simple. It's my favorite horror movie, and it's pretty damn awesome. I first saw Halloween back when I was 12, and it really stuck with me. Now, I'm sure some people are saying, 12? Isn't that kind of young to be watching a horror movie? Probably, yeah. I think John Carpenter made some fantastic movies. Sure, he made some bad ones too, but let's be honest, who among us hasn't? But he also made some really great iconic ones too. We have The Fog, Escape from New York, which is another personal favorite of mine. The Thing, Christine, They Live, also good. And another all-time great movie, top 5, Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, I love that movie. If you haven't seen that, you definitely need to check it out. I mean, like right now. Don't worry, I'll wait here. Now, for those of you not familiar with the movie, Halloween is the story of a 6-year-old boy named Michael Myers, who, on Halloween night, murders his older sister for reasons unknown. This murder lands him in Smith's Grove Sanitarium, where his doctor, Dr. Loomis, tries to get through to Michael to find out why he killed his sister. After years of trying to help Michael, who doesn't say a word the whole time, Dr. Loomis comes to the conclusion that Michael did it because he is pure evil. Now, I tend to think most kids are kind of evil anyways, so I don't really think Loomis was too far off here. Anyways, he spends the next 7 years trying to make sure Michael stays at Smith's Grove. Fast forward 15 years after the murder, on the night before Halloween, Dr. Loomis is coming to take Michael to court to try to make sure that he is not set free, but Michael breaks out of the sanitarium, steals Loomis's car, and heads back to his hometown of Haddonfield, Illinois. Dr. Loomis, knowing what Michael is capable of, makes his way to Haddonfield to try and stop it. Once back in Haddonfield, Michael sets his dead black eyes on Laurie Strode, a high school babysitter. Throughout the day, Michael stalks Laurie and her friends. Then, on Halloween night, we find out which one of the teenagers will end up on the wrong side of Michael's knife. Halloween came out on October 27, 1978, and comes in at 1 hour and 31 minutes. It was originally going to be called The Babysitter Murders, where the events take place over the course of a couple days, but due to budgetary constraints, which is around $300,000, they decided to make most of it happen on the same day, and decided to have it take place on a Halloween, because it's the scariest night of the year. Now, this is a brilliant move when you think about it. I mean, you have a mass killer who on any other day would have to be moving around in the shadows or creeping around at night, but here we have him driving a car, walking around to school, all during the day. I mean, doing that really opened up what they could have Michael do. Now, they filmed this in 20 days, which is a really, really short time for the result that we got. As most people know by now, they use a Captain Kirk mask for Michael Myers. What they did is they stretched it out, cut the eye holes a little bigger, and painted it white. What a lot of people may not know is that the second choice for the mask was a Wary Willie mask. Well, who's Wary Willie? Wary Willie was a hobo clown character that was made famous by Emmett Kelly. The idea behind it was that since Michael was dressed as a clown when he killed his sister, that it would kind of make sense for him to at least relive part of that. But when they put the masks side by side, Carpenter picked the Kirk mask because of how emotionless it was. Now, not that clowns can't be creepy, I mean, they sure as hell can be, but I think he made the right choice. The cast includes Jamie Lee Curtis as the main character, Laurie Strode, and Donald Pleasance as Dr. Loomis. And, I mean, I gotta say, for me, hands down, Donald Pleasance is Dr. Loomis. I mean, he did such a great job with this character. And it's kind of crazy because he wasn't the first choice for the role. Apparently, Carpenter asked Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee to play the role first, but both of them ended up turning it down because of the low pay, which was around 20 grand. But I'm super happy they did because I really can't imagine anyone else playing Loomis. The movie was written by Deborah Hill and John Carpenter. Carpenter also directed the movie and did the music for it. And it's really hard to talk about Halloween and not talk about the music, because it plays such an integral part and it really did help make this movie what it is. Now, I'm a big fan of Carpenter's music in all of his movies. You immediately recognize it once you hear it, and I believe if you've seen this movie and you hear that theme song come on, which has become iconic at this point, I kind of feel like you probably look over your shoulders to take a glance just to make sure Michael isn't standing there. He isn't, right? Now let's take a look at a few examples of how Carpenter used music in this movie. Here we have a scene of three teenagers just casually walking down the street during a sunny afternoon. Now, how do you make the feeling of that scene kind of uneasy? Enter John Carpenter. Then we have the music or sounds that play when he attacks.
Okay, Linda. Come on out.
The best way I can describe it is scathing or jarring. Couple that with the fact that often there was no music leading up to the attack, maybe some breathing, and made it extra effective. Then the last one I want to touch on is the music that plays after Laurie meets Michael and is trying to get away from him. For me, this is perfectly done. I mean, the music added together with the way that they shot this, Michael just kind of casually walking towards her, added with the way they lit him almost completely in shadows, it's amazing. I mean, this is just perfect. And this is one of my favorite scenes of the entire movie. Carpenter did such an amazing job of building tension with his music, and it just wouldn't have been the same without it. Now let's talk about the writing for a minute. As I mentioned before, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill wrote this movie, and they wrote it in 10 days. Also, pretty impressive. Now, the dialogue of this movie isn't award-winning, but it does fit the characters, and let's face it, nobody really watches horror movies expecting great dialogue.
Totally.
Exactly. What I find interesting is how they took stuff from their own lives and put it into the script. Take Haddonfield, for example. Haddonfield, Illinois is where the movie takes place, except for the fact that it doesn't exist, which is kind of a bummer because I did want a road trip there someday. But Haddonfield, New Jersey is a real place, and that's where Deborah Hill was from. Laurie Strode, that was the name of one of Carpenter's ex-girlfriends. And Michael Myers, well, that's the name of a British film distributor who helped put out Carpenter's previous film, Assault on Precinct 13, in the UK. There's more of this, but you get the idea. Now to kind of talk about the movie as a whole. There are so many cool things that they did with this movie. I mean, they started off with a POV shot from Michael's perspective when he kills his sister. In my opinion, this is a very cool way to start it off, especially once you get the reveal that you were just looking through the eyes of a little kid doing the killing. The scene where Laurie and her friends are walking on the sidewalk, and you see Michael standing next to a shrub, just staring at them just briefly before stepping back behind it. You don't see it coming, and that's what makes it so effective. But not in like a gotcha or a jump scare kind of way, in a genuinely creepy way. Or when Laurie sees Michael while staring out of her bedroom window. I mean, I would freak if I saw that standing in my backyard. I think they did a lot of cinematic things in this movie that were creepy as hell. And that's one thing Carpenter did a great job of. He put in really subtle things that were in fact very, very creepy. It's almost like the fact that he didn't make a big deal of Michael standing behind that shrub, and that's what made it so effective. Or this scene where Annie is in the laundry room and Michael makes an appearance. Just being able to see him through the curtains is great. I mean, you see him standing there, you know he's there, so now you're just waiting to see if he attacks. And I think they added the music because it's a very subtle thing they did. A white mask looking through a white curtain. Without the music, if you're not paying attention, I mean, you could easily miss it. Hands down though, okay, one of my favorite subtle creepy moments is when Michael is behind Laurie and towards the end of the movie, and the light comes on and just initially catches his mask. Now this is something that's used in other movies, including sequels to this one, but they use it because it works. I mean, the reveal that someone is behind you and you have no idea, it's great. That's all I can say. It's just great. Overall, this movie has a lot of nice little touches. Subtle things they did that really enhance the creepy factor of it. One of the best elements of this movie, though, is the fact that there is no reason for it to be happening. Michael has never met any of the characters, except for Loomis, but he singles out Laurie and her friends for no apparent reason. And that in itself is scary. I mean, it's just mindless random killing. If you know why something's happening, you can at least kind of make sense of it. But when there is no reason, no logic, you can't make sense of it. And for a lot of people, there not being a reason for something happening is pretty scary. Then there's the fact that Michael draws it out. He has plenty of opportunities earlier in the movie to kill people, but he waits. He stalks them. All of these things add together to make a really effective horror movie formula. Now, if I had one negative about the movie, it'd be this. Towards the end, when Laurie makes it back to the house where she had been babysitting at, there's two kids there. Michael makes his way in and comes after Laurie when the kids are right next to her. Laurie tells the kids, get out, go get help, and then she lures Michael away. Now, personally, I would have liked to have seen maybe her throw or push the kids towards Michael to slow him down, and then she gets away. Or possibly fashion some sort of human shield with the kids. But they didn't, hey, what can I say? It feels like a real missed opportunity to me. Now for some fun facts. The budget was so low on this movie that the actors wore their own clothes. I watch this movie at least once a year. It's kind of a Halloween tradition. Carpenter wrote the music for this by himself in just 3 days. I can't even begin to tell you how many nightmares I've had where Michael's trying to kill me. If you like Carpenter's music, then you should definitely check out Retro Promenade's Carpenter. It's basically a tribute to Carpenter, but it's really, really good. I'll put a link in the description. Just check that out. How cool is that cover art? This little low-budget horror movie was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant back in 2006. It's that good. So, would I recommend watching Halloween?
Totally.
Alright guys, what'd you think? Have you seen Halloween? Did you like it? You kind of have to, right? Because, I'm not saying not liking it means you kick puppies, but, that's gonna do it for this one. Let me know in the comments what your favorite horror movie is. Now, I'm gonna try to do one of these every week, maybe every other week. Kind of have to see how it plays out. But that's gonna do it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.